I think YouTube is actually making us dumber. And the scary thing is, we actually think we're getting smarter. I really love YouTube, but at some point I realized that the more I watched, the less I was thinking for myself. And that's when I quit. For some context, I work a full-time job and I don't have an infinite amount of time. I only have a small pocket of time to think, plan, and execute on my ideas. But to do that, I had to address the elephant in the room, which was my YouTube addiction. Me personally, I never had a problem with short form content, but when it came to YouTube, I had a problem. I had YouTube running in the background 24/7. It didn't matter what I was doing, whether I'm cooking, eating, showering, before bed, it didn't matter. I hated silence and that boredom feeling that comes with it. That kept on going until it became a second nature. I stopped completely thinking about it. And even when I did, I quickly convinced myself that I was actually learning. But deep down, I knew I was coping. Here's the thing. If you want to become really good at anything, your brain needs to wrestle with it. You need to be constantly solving problems as they arise. You need that boredom and you need that space. Constant consumption and YouTube killed that space for me. I never sat long enough with myself to actually form new and original ideas. I want to grow on YouTube, but instead of thinking about how to come up with better titles and how to tell better stories, I was outsourcing the thinking to other content creators. I realized that you can't build something if all you do is consume other people's content. And not even to mention how YouTube is a high dopamine activity, mainly because of the retention editing, the fast cuts and the endless suggestion. Then you sit down and try to script a video and it's painfully slow. And of course it is. We trained our brain to crave instant gratification instead of embracing that boredom. We clearly see a problem here, and I needed a drastic change to happen. And that's when I quit YouTube for 30 days. Not because I thought YouTube was an evil platform or anything, but I needed to reset that relationship I had with it. After I quit YouTube, I didn't magically become super productive or anything, but I've gained back that silence, that space that I've lost. And I also had extra time on my hands now. Now I must admit that I didn't fully maximize that time at the start, but I had to learn. I started reading more, sitting with ideas more, and rediscover goals that I had forgotten about. For you, it doesn't have to be reading. It could be starting a business, learning a new skill or a hobby, or just thinking about your next move properly. At some point, if you want a change to happen, you have to stop watching and actually start executing. Yes, I know learning may feel productive and execution may make you feel vulnerable, but you have to go through it. I still want to make the most of YouTube. That is why I've set a rule for it. Unless I have a pen and paper in my hand and I'm writing notes in my own words, I'm not gonna watch it. This does two things for me. It forces intentionality and it exposes when I'm actually just craving stimulation. The rule is simple. If I'm not actually studying and taking notes, I'm not gonna watch. I don't think you need to delete YouTube forever. It's an incredible platform and you can learn so many things from it. Down to how to get water out of your phone speakers. Real story, by the way. However, if you feel like you're addicted, you might need a hard reset. And if you choose to go cold turkey, make sure you delete the app from your phone and to download this browser extension called Unhook. This extension will completely remove the home page and the YouTube recommendations as well. This will force you to use YouTube search only, but reward myself if I want. But if I want to watch, I want to make sure I've earned it. I finished the 30 day now, and I now finished the 30 days and I've loved it so much that I decided to go another 30 days. But eventually I want to experiment with YouTube as a reward for finishing important work. No mindless watching. I want to keep the intentionality. But if I want to watch YouTube, I want to make sure I've earned it. It is clear now that I'm not against YouTube, but I'm against unconscious living. YouTube is one of the most powerful platforms we've ever had, but that tool can quietly turn into default, and that default in itself can turn into a dependency. That's when it becomes a problem. If you feel like you're constantly learning but you're not building anything, maybe it's not a motivation problem. Maybe your brain just hasn't had the chance to think for itself. Try sitting in silence. It's uncomfortable, but that discomfort might be where your best ideas are hiding.